Christmas, Alex. It's time to open your presents.
What could it be?
Well, there's only one way to find out. Go ahead and open it.
My very own violin! This is what I wanted more than anything. I promise I'm gonna practice every day and get really good. I can't wait to start practicing. Oh. It is getting a little late though. I think I'll just watch a few YouTube videos and go to bed tonight. Then I'll start practicing in the morning. Oh yeah. Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a musician and composer, and I'm currently going to college for music, specifically for music education, and some of the classes I need to take are about teaching music. Some of my favorite classes that I've taken are instrumental methods courses, where we learn about instrument families and how to teach those instruments to new players. I made a video a few months ago about my experience trying to learn the trumpet for one of these classes. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. This video is going to be focused on the violin. I'm taking a string methods course, and this is our first instrument assignment. I'm going to spend 30 days practicing the violin and see how far I can progress. And then at the end of the month, I will write a piece featuring the violin. I've tried to learn the violin before, but I've never stayed with it very long. I think I know a scale or two and maybe an odd folk song here and there, so I'm definitely not a veteran player. I'm hoping that this video will finally give me a goal to work towards and help me keep a consistent practice schedule. It's here. It's here. So this is a shoulder rest. It's not 100% needed to play violin, but most everyone uses it. You put it on the bottom of your violin, and it gives you extra support on your shoulder. So let's put it on. This way. There we go. And then with your shoulder and your jaw, you should be able to hold it no hands. This makes changing positions and generally balancing on the instrument a lot easier. There are a lot of little accessories you wouldn't think you need to play violin, but you do. When I first got this violin, I spent maybe 30 minutes figuring out how exactly the bridge is supposed to stand up. If you don't know, it's only set in place by the strings. The string tension is the only thing keeping it up right now. So if I detuned all the strings, it would fall flat. It's not glued on, it's not screwed on, and that's terrifying to me. Once I finally did get the bridge in place, I spent another 45 minutes wondering why the bow wouldn't make any noise on the strings, until I found out you need a little thing called rosin to give enough friction to actually make noise. You put the rosin on the bow, and then the bow makes the violin make sound. I felt so terrible. I thought I broke the violin right out of the case. This week has been pretty good. I spent a lot of time reviewing notes and scales mostly. Surprisingly, a lot of it's coming back to me. I can sight read some easy tunes, and tuning doesn't take nearly as long as I remember it taking. The main difference I'm having trouble with between the violin and another string instrument like guitar is that there aren't any frets, so you can't see where your fingers need to be. Every time you play, you need to rely on muscle memory, which is just crazy to me. There's also not a lot of room for error. The smallest amount, too high or too low on the fretboard, can really send your notes out of tune. I know some people put tape on their violins to tell them where the whole steps and half steps are, but I'm too lazy to do that. Something I have been doing a lot lately is practicing with a tuner open on my phone. That way I can keep myself honest while I'm playing instead of letting little mistakes slip that I can't hear. So here's my week 1 attempt at a G major scale. How about D major? I've been trying to split the rest of my practice time between working on tone and learning songs. I know where all the notes in first position are, and sometimes they're even in tune. But my tone is atrocious. I'm sure some of the reason is because this is not the best violin, but what kind of musician would I be if I didn't blame myself? Eddie from the YouTube channel 2Set Violin has a lot of videos geared towards beginner violin players where he talks about things like tone and how to bow, and those have been really helpful. I've also been looking online for easy folk songs to play and other stuff to practice. Just like my trumpet video, I didn't want to learn solely off YouTube videos for this month, so I asked my friend Jillian for Beginner Lesson to set me on the right path. One thing I was definitely worried about while learning alone were bad playing habits that I could pick up without even realizing them. There are so many nuances to every instrument, and if you don't have a teacher guiding you through the small details of technique, how to hold the instrument, practice routines, you can really get discouraged and feel like you're not progressing. Or even worse, you can develop habits that will hurt you and your playing down the line.
Hand position.
Okay.
Right? So looking at it, usually, like the basic, it's called first position. It's just like, right? This shape, okay? Whole step, half step, whole step, right? That makes sense. You got that. So I was thinking on the way over here, I was like, well, if you wanted to do just a G scale, you don't actually alter this at all. So you go G, A, B, C, D, E is the next string, F sharp, G. So it's all the same, like, hand shape on each string, right? Have you gotten to play Twinkle yet?
Like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star?
Yeah.
What key?
I don't know. Pick
no.
one.
Sure. Gotcha.
Let's just see what you got.
Alright, so... nowhere.
Okay, that's actually pretty good. Heck yeah, there it is. No, but you got it. That's actually pretty good. Just a couple things I'm going to notice.
Yeah.
Of course, note your posture.
Okay.
You're doing a good job of keeping this fairly straight.
Okay.
But make sure your wrist maintains like this straight and don't let it table out.
Okay.
So you only really want to let that happen if you're like up here, but that's not a thing right now because you're a beginner. You're allowed to move your elbow like all the way down to hit your E string.
Gotcha.
So it's going to move a lot and you just have to be, like, don't be afraid of looking weird or like a chicken or whatever.
Okay.
Because you kind of need to if you're going to get the right sound without bumping other strings. Don't be stressed about playing. Like, I know it's really difficult to say don't be stressed, but like let your body be relaxed and do its own work. The more relaxed you can be, the better it'll probably sound. Because as soon as you start being stressed, your instrument's going to feel the stress. Ooh. And that's when you're going to lose that tone.
I like that.
Let me retune.
So this is my week 2 check-in, and it's been a week. In my lesson with Jillian, we really focused on posture and playing technique. I've spent the week practicing with my camera looking back at me so I can check where my wrist and fingers are at all times. This is making a huge difference in my practice. I'm playing a lot more in tune, and my hands are starting to really memorize where all of the whole steps and half steps are on the violin. My goals going forward are to focus more on technique than just learning a bunch of songs. I want to try to explore third position, which is basically when you shift your hand up on the violin. I'm a huge fan of Irish folk music like jigs and reels, so I want to try to get into that, but I'm not sure how successful I'm going to be. They do sound quite hard. And I also need to write a piece. Jillian showed me a lot of cool techniques that violin players can do, such as double stops and fake harmonics. I don't know if I'll be able to add any of those to my piece, because I need to be able to play them, but it definitely got me excited to start thinking about what sounds I do want. Week 3 check-in. This week was a bit busier than I would like it to be, so I didn't get to practice every day. But I did get some good shedding time in with a fiddle tune called the Swallowtail Jig. Still a little rough, but I definitely want to keep working on that one. Something that really fascinates me about the violin is that it sort of has two different identities. The violin has a really rich history of different classical music settings like string quartets and orchestras, but the fiddle is a staple instrument of folk and bluegrass bands. Other genres do have violin and or fiddle, and they use the terms interchangeably. That in itself isn't particularly special. A lot of different instruments are used in different ways based on the genre that's being played, but the violin or the fiddle is a really iconic sound for those two totally different worlds of music. I think it's really interesting. I haven't played a whole lot of classical violin music during this challenge because a lot of it tends to be technically more challenging, but I definitely wanted to learn a few folk songs to be absorbed in that world. So I have 1 week left in the challenge. Hopefully I can find some time to practice and finish the piece I'm writing. Alright, so this is the week 4 check-in, and it was not a great week. A lot of other commitments were happening. I had to get a few recordings done, so I only got about 2 days of practice in this week. Not a whole lot of improvement. I did spend some time writing the piece though. I decided to go with more of a jig, folky type feel because the harmony would stay a little bit simpler and the melody could be more or less pentatonic. I have a little idea of a melody in my head, and I'm gonna try to see if I can expand on that. I've also been thinking about the accompaniment a lot. I think more traditionally folky instruments would help add to the feel of the piece that I'm going for. Guitars, for example, instead of a piano, which I am more comfortable with. Alright, so here's the finished piece. I decided to call the piece the Horsetail Jig because the hairs on the violin bow are from a horse's tail. Very creative. Enjoy. Overall, I really liked it. It definitely sounds like somebody who's new at violin, but it's a lot better than what it was 4 weeks ago. I feel like I have a much deeper respect for all string players and a lot more knowledge going into my next composition about what they can do and what they like to do. But what do you think? Was my song catchy and memorable? Do you never want to hear it again? Was my intonation too much to handle? Should I quit while I'm ahead? Let me know in the comments below, and like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to know when my next video comes out, and thanks for watching.